One of the causes to the 2008 real estate crash were ARM loans, adjustable rate mortgages. These loans were blasted all over the market to get as many absolutely unqualified buyers into home ownership. Well, we all know how that worked out. Now guess what? ARMs are making a comeback. But before you start falling for the clickbait headlines about how this will be the cause to the next market crash, sit tight. I'm gonna walk you through how these ARM loans are not what we had prior to 2008. Mortgage rates have been holding steady for the last 2 weeks in the mid 6.5% range. New data from the Consumer Price Index and the Producer Price Index brought more good news regarding inflation. The two big questions on everyone's mind is if the Feds will be lowering the Fed funds rate this upcoming September, and if they do, by how much. I'll share with you what the market is predicting and what to keep your eye on, and most importantly, how will this all affect us here in San Diego? Now, I'm sure you've seen somewhere, either here on YouTube, on the TV, or some random social media post, that sales inventory is up. And this is true, but it's not the whole story. Seasonal shift is showing up and rates are coming down. Follow me on this. I'm gonna show you how our inventory here in San Diego is trending and what will likely follow if rates come down. Now, if you're on the fence for buying a home, this is the part you want to stick around for. All this covered in this week's San Diego Market Matters as soon as you hit that thumb up button down below. Go ahead, I'll give you a second. And while you're at it, if you enjoy seeing me nerd out about the San Diego real estate market and you want to align yourself with the most legit resource here in San Diego, be sure to subscribe to my channel so you can stay on top of all the content I provide that supports you in your real estate ventures here in San Diego. And lastly, before we jump into the content, if you're thinking of selling or buying here in San Diego, check out the link in the description below where you can schedule a meeting with me so we can discuss your goals and how I can help you achieve them. Now that we got that out of the way, I'm Karl, your San Diego realtor. Let's jump into this. Adjustable rate mortgages, the scourge of the early 2000s that in part led to the 2008 real estate crash. Back then, structured as interest only and known as ninja loans. Essentially, these were loans given to borrowers with no income, job, or asset validation. As a result, they have quite the bad rap. The reason ARMs are coming back is purely due to affordability. And to be extremely frank and honest, they aren't bad loans if used correctly. And nowadays, these ARM loans are structured much differently than they were back in the early 2000s. In 2021, 4% of loans originated were ARMs. And as interest rates for mortgages aggressively started to rise, ARMs started showing up more and more in the market. The appeal of an ARM loan is that it can come with a much lower interest rate for a reasonable period of time. Fast forward to May of 2024, 15.5% of loans originated were ARMs. And this makes a lot of sense considering all that is going on in the real estate and mortgage markets. In this graph, you can see the difference between a fixed rate mortgage and an adjustable rate mortgage. Though it isn't a huge difference, it does make its impact on higher price point areas. Thus why you see in this graph, the higher price point markets, San Diego being one of them, have a higher concentration of ARM loans being issued than areas where the average sales price is less than $500,000. Here's how ARMs are structured nowadays and how they can make a lot of sense right now. Before 2008, lenders often approved ARMs based on a borrower's ability to pay the initial interest rate, and sometimes they didn't even do that, i.e. ninja loans. Today, adjustable rate borrowers qualify based on their ability to cover the higher monthly payment, not only the initial lower payment. Typically, these loans come as a 5 or a 7-1 ARM. That means that the rate is fixed for the first 5 to 7 years and then becomes adjustable each year after that for a certain number of years. Real quick, there's much more detail to these loans, but I adamantly believe that realtors should stay in their lane as well as mortgage lenders. Oftentimes, mortgage lenders will overstep their boundaries and give advice to buyers on what to do in the real estate sales side, and it can make things really challenging for the realtor, i.e. me. So I'm gonna stay in my lane and highly suggest that if you wanna know more about these loans, drop the comment ARMs in the comment section below. If there's any interest, I'll bring one of my lenders on to do a walkthrough on these loans. So let's bring things together and make sense of this all. ARMs can be risky if it's possible that the mortgage rates could go up in the future. This exposes the mortgage holder to a heightened interest rate of the market after the initial 5 to 7 year fixed rate. But in our current situation, it's more likely we're gonna see interest rates go down over the next 12 to 24 months. Of course, this isn't guaranteed because anything could happen. But all things considered, if you can get into the market now with one of these loans at a slightly lower rate, you can refi out of it when rates come down and get yourself into a lower fixed rate mortgage. But I'd like to hear from what your thoughts are on this type of loan. If this could be used temporarily to get you a lower payment, would you take it now to get into the market sooner than later? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, while on the topic of rates, let's go ahead and move on to the next subject. Mortgage interest rates have been holding steady for the last 2 weeks in the mid 6.5% range, which is helping affordability for everyone. But despite expectation, data is showing that home sales, for the most part, are holding steady. What one would expect is that when rates come down, affordability would increase and more buyers would enter the market. That's not exactly what's happening across the country though. What we suspect is that this drop in rate isn't enough to motivate buyers to come back into the market at the current prices. At the same time, it has the same effect on homeowners. Not only do interest rates help buyers to buy, it also allows sellers to sell so that they can then buy. The two big questions on everyone's mind is if the feds will be lowering the Fed funds rate this upcoming September, and if they do, by how much? Now, to be clear, the Fed funds rate does not impact mortgage rates directly. So if we hear the Feds drop 0.5 point, that doesn't mean mortgage rates will drop 0.5 point as well. Now, here's some good news. The Producer Price Index, aka PPI, essentially the inflation report on wholesale pricing, reported this last week below expectations. July's PPI was expected to come in at 0.2%, but only reported a 0.1% increase. This has the year-over-year basis come in at 2.2% inflation for PPI. This is really good news and is exactly what we needed to see in this report to further secure the chances of the Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell to lower rates this upcoming September. But wait, there's more. The CPI, the Consumer Price Index, the metric the market generally watches. This came in as expected for the month of July. The annual rate of inflation continues its downward trend, reporting in July at 3.2% for CPI and 2.9% for core CPI. Core CPI being CPI minus food and energy. And this is really good news also. CPI and PPI are showing great readings, but keep in mind that though the feds watch these, the Fed's primary metric that they follow to measure inflation is PCE, personal consumption expenditures. This is the metric that tells the feds how much you are spending on goods and services. So when you see CPI and PPI have good readings, these are indicators that the next PCE report later this month will likely come in at either expectation or better. We need PCE to continue showing progress towards an annual 2% rate. June reported an annualized rate of 2.5% for PCE. Hopefully we'll continue to see the trend downward in the upcoming report reflecting on July. All right, now let's tie all this together. The Fed's dual mandate is to get inflation down to 2% and to keep as many of us employed as possible. Well, employment is really good. Though slightly rising, the labor market is far from broken. With these positive readings on inflation, the Feds may have the data they need and the consistency in data to feel comfortable and confident to start their approach of a soft landing for the economy. As of right now, the Fed funds rate is 5.25% to 5.5%. The expectations based on the positive PPI and CPI report of this last week are that there is a 75% chance that the feds will cut rates 1/4 point in September and a 25% chance that they'll cut rates 0.5 point. If this happens, you will likely see interest rates across the board drop in some degree. This will be the first step of many that will be taken over the next 12 to 24 months as mortgage rates very gradually settle down. Now here's your chance. In the comments below, bet either red or black. Red says the Fed funds rate will cut 0.5 point. Black says the feds will cut 1/4 point. Obviously, this is just for fun, but if you were a betting person, how much would you wager on your pick? Let me know in the comments below. Now, personally, I'm betting on 0 green. I don't think the feds will cut rates in September, but that's just me. Now let's wrap things up and take a look at San Diego inventory, sales movement, and put all of this together. As you can see, new listing inventory this year peaked at May, which is kind of early for us. Since May, we are seeing less and less homes come to market, which means fewer options for buyers to choose from. This is unlike many other parts of the country that are continuing to see their inventory go up or saw their new listing inventory peak more recently. What we want to pay attention to though is the pending sales data. Now check this out. This time last year, we started to see the number of homes accepting an offer start to fall off for the remainder of the year. Fewer and fewer homes started going into escrow. But that's not what we're seeing for San Diego now. In July, we had an uptick in the number of homes accepting an offer. And at the time I shot this video, we're halfway through the month, and the data is showing that we're opening escrow at the same rate as last month. So while our inventory is falling off, meaning less and less homes are coming to the market, what we are not seeing is the number of homes going in escrow also falling off. With interest rates having hit a low that we haven't seen in over a year, it's very likely that buyers are trying to get into the market now before rates get any lower out of fear that more buyers will enter the market as we get closer to a flat 6% interest rate or lower. We're gonna wanna keep an eye on the pending sales data, the reports for August, along with the PCE report that comes out at the end of the month, as well as the labor report that drops in early September. These are all going to be compounding factors as to the direction of the movement of our inventory here in San Diego. And that's a wrap for this week's San Diego Markets Matters video. If you found this information valuable, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for the weekly updates on the San Diego real estate market. And if you're considering on selling or buying property here in San Diego, don't hesitate to reach out to me for expert guidance tailored to your needs. As always, I'm Karl, your San Diego realtor. I'll see you in the next video.